a live stream. Previously, we tried to do one yesterday, but we had just terrible internet for some reason. Let's see if we can't get everything in better line today. We are going to answer questions from the Discord server from different types of viewers, and then when viewers come on and post questions, we are going to answer those. This is mostly about training and fitness, specifically my brand of training and fitness, which is the minimum amount of equipment to get the maximum results outside of a professional setting, if that's the way you want to think about it, which is probably a good way to think about it. So what we're targeting with most of these questions is the everyday individual, the everyday athlete, people who actually work for a living, who have a limited amount of time and money to spend on training, but would like to have the best possible result, primarily about health. And Frank just signed on. Hey, Frank. Primarily about health, which is our most important concern, pain-free movement so that we can live a high quality of life. That is what we are most interested in. We put physique down at the bottom of what we care about the most. We care first about being pain-free. Then we care about our health and longevity. After that, we care about performance. After that, we care about how we look, because we value the most important things first, being free of pain, and then health and longevity. Those are the most important things. So most of the questions that we are going to answer here are outside of the normal fitness realm, and they are specifically targeted to meet those needs. So we answered a bunch of these questions yesterday, but let's see, hold on a sec. What's going on with our camera here? This thing's trying to give me something weird here. There you go. I don't know whatever it's trying to do. Hello, everybody. Thank you for signing on. And how do we get to our chat? All messages are visible. That's what we're looking for right there. Good. So that is our goal. We're always trying to answer questions specifically to people who actually need it. We're going to see how long our gimbal lasts and see how long our battery lasts, but hopefully we can get through a bunch of this before we have any issues with batteries or technical issues like we did yesterday. Let's go ahead and start with a question from the comments section here. John Doe, what is the best way to recover from lower back and knee injuries? I'm going to say this answer a million times. The best possible way to recover from both of those things is single arm club training. Absolutely 100%. Most important thing you need to worry about with that is pointing your feet straight ahead, especially if you have knee issues. Many people have knee issues and they turn one leg out further than the other and they wonder why their knee hurts. It's not a big surprise. Your joints are supposed to line up equally on both sides of your body. So people need to point their feet straight ahead and they need to start doing single arm series of club work with a light weight. The point of the single arm series, inside circle, outside circle, and shield cast, is that they cause all the muscles of your core to fire equally at the same exact time. If the muscles in your core are out of balance because one muscle is overworked or you have position-specific adaptations like sitting down a lot, then you need to make all the muscles the same length-tension relationship again. The easiest possible way to do that, single arm heavy club swinging. For gentlemen, that tends to mean starting around the 10 to 15 pound range. For ladies, that could be anywhere from 5 to 10, usually 7 to 10 pound range, depending on frame size. And you need to work on volume cycles and density cycles with that. If your lower back fixes, because all your core works equally well, the front of your core, the back of the core, the side of the core, the top and the bottom, that's how you get rid of back pain. Most simple way, make your back not hurt standing up, rotate about the central axis, make it do inside, outside, and shield cast. That tends to solve almost everybody's back pain. Then you move through the second series of movements, which is inside pendulum, outside pendulum, pullover. There's a bunch of other series in the middle that you can add into, but they all end up with mill and reverse mill for volume cycles and density cycles. Volume cycles means building up to, say, 20 sets of 5, and density cycle means taking that down to about 10 sets of 10, although some people do take it to one set of 100. I stop it at 10 sets of 10, and then you jump weight and you go up and you repeat the whole cycle over again. That solves back problem, 100%. Let's go back and let's do another comment here. Where did we just end up? Uh, Apparently DVG is not here today, messing up our lives. Hello, Christine. Thank you for liking our videos. Hello, Luis. Can we do a few videos on military-specific exercises like flutter kicks and rucking? I mean, I can. I can do that, but I tend to leave that to actual military people. I know exactly what I would do about that topic. Flutter kicks are not hard if you already have a strong core. I would tell everybody, if you need to do flutter kicks for something like military, then you need to be doing V-ups. A lot of V-ups, and V-up opposite arm, opposite leg lift. I think we have videos on both of those. Those are both preludes to flutter kicks. Flutter kicks are an exercise that is done time under tension by military guys in order to force activation. It's an absolutely fantastic exercise, but most people, if they have a weak lower back, are not going to be good at that. If they're not strong enough to keep their rib cage pushed down and to hold the rib cage down while their legs are moving, the more their rib cage lifts up, the more their lower back arches, the more awful it becomes for the majority of people. There are those, people who are immune to pain. Oftentimes they end up in the military and they end up in the higher tiers of military, where they can just keep going with that forever, whether or not their form degrades or not. It's a mental, emotional preparedness thing. But for the most part, to prepare for something like flutter kicks, V-ups, V-up opposite arm, opposite leg raise, lots of them, lots and lots and lots of them. So I would put that in that progression of V-up, opposite arm, opposite leg raise, and then that goes directly into flutter kicks after that. Rucking, we can talk about rucking all you want. The most important thing about rucking is to make sure that your core is equally strong all the way around. That's kind of the answer for almost everything. And start with a light weight. Most people who end up in the military coming out of some type of sport, but sport training isn't even what it was 20 years ago for teenagers, so most people are not structurally sound enough to do something like rucking. I would tell people to do single arm club, lots of clean and press with a kettlebell, lots of Turkish get up with a kettlebell in order to prep your core, and then start rucking with a light weight. Most people need to start down in the 20-pound range instead of, the 40, 50, 60-pound range. I would start people at a 20-pound range for rucking, and then I would start adding gear to them. Specifically for military guys, start adding rifles, and then you can control your load by adding X amount of magazines. But, you need to add rifle, helmet first with a light rucking bag, and then you need to start adding weight to the ruck in ammo first and then in gear in the back. That would be how I would think about it. But, there's many more military guys who have much better information on that topic. I would vary it with heavy, medium, and light days, of course, just like I do with everything else. And I would have people walk different distances each day. There'd be a bunch of ways to do this, but if you were to ruck probably 4 days a week, then you would have like a light day, a medium day, heavy medium day, and a heavy day, and then a 2-day break. That would probably be how I would do it right off the top of my head. Yeah, and then I would separate out sprinting from rucking entirely. I would not do sprint days with that much load on. If you were to do sprint days, I would put them on maybe your light rucking days, or on days 3 and 5, 3 and 6. And your sprinting days would be first pure sprinting. I would start with 100-meter sprints on unlevel ground. And then I would start introducing obstacles, specifically vaulting. And then after you got good at that, then it would be introduced rifle. And then it would be introduced rifle and high carry, side carry, alternate side carry, back carry. And then you'd put in helmet and you'd start doing armored sprinting over again. But I would never do more than, say, 5 to 10 sprints in any one of those training days, because of the amount of load that you're overall going to be under with that type of training. That's just a quick one-off. Many people, run and gun guys, are way better talking about this than I am. Run and gun guys are specifically like gun by athletes, where they run with rifles and shoot. They know much more about this topic than I do. That's just my 2 cents on the topic. Let's go back up and get back up here. Do you happen to know of any good online resources for healthy meals to make at home? I don't. I do want to get up to Canada and shoot a whole series of kind of backwoods cooking videos with my friend Kylie, who's a First Nations tribe member who lives way up in the Arctic Circle. I would love to do that because I would like to start expanding this into healthy eating for the common man, as opposed to healthy eating for rich people, which is an entirely different topic. Rich people, famous people, A-list actors, they have entirely different resources when it comes to food. And I find myself as a common man having an entirely different take on food than many people who work with more high-priced clientele. I prefer to work with just, normal people because that's what I am. So a good resource for recipes or something like that, I don't know. I just look stuff up. I look up a lot of paleo recipes. But for the most part, when I cook for myself, I cook vegetables and meat. It's the least exciting thing ever. Grill. I grill a lot of meat, steak, deer. I do a lot of cast iron meat. And then I try to eat like 8 servings of vegetables a day if I am able to control my own diet with travel, which is very much hard with the amount of time that I actually spend traveling. And then I spend a lot of time on the road. So when I'm in control of my food, it's all meat and vegetables for the most part. And then you get out on the road and you get what you can to stay alive. I am going to try to answer this question better in the future about recipes and simple cooking with the common man in mind. Common man in mind. There you go. I think I dropped the D on that one. My speech impediments are coming out. Let's go back up here. Now maybe we're going to skip the Discord today and just do all these. Thoughts on the Pro Kettlebell Atlas size? ProKettlebell.com has 2 sizes. I believe the Atlas size is the small size. I have the large size. I am waiting to get my hands on an Atlas size because I think that that's going to be a game changer. A kettlebell that well designed as the Pro competition kettlebell, but sized for people of actually a smaller frame. I'm dying to get my hands on one. When that thing comes out, I will get my hands on it and I will let you know. I assume it's going to be awesome, but I would like to put it in the hands of my friend, say Selkie Hom, who is like a 5'4", 5'5" stunt performer. So she's drastically different size than me. So I would like to see how she deals with a very good kettlebell that's actually properly designed. So yes, I don't have thoughts on the Atlas yet, but I would love to have thoughts on the Atlas because I think it's going to be rad. John Carey. John, you're going to have to tell me what volume training 24K jumps means. I don't know. Grant Gardner, Lord of the Discord. He is the Lord of our Discord. As I have granted him that title, I can't deal with one more platform. Too much stuff. So Grant Gardner is in charge of that. What approach do you recommend for improving shoulder external rotation? I know it sounds lame. It's single arm club training. Because as you start with single arm club training, for the most part, people won't rotate their upper body. They will rotate their arm in and out a ton. And people will balance out their rotator cuffs and heel rotator cuff injuries on accident by just doing a proper progression of single arm training. And then as the weight gets heavier, they will keep their hand more in front of their body and rotate their body more. So people ask me what is the best way to do that exercise. And the answer is whichever one has a straight elbow at the bottom and catches in the correct order position. Everything else is pretty much valid with those 2 exercises, but that will improve your external rotator cuff movement to the range at which normal people need to use their arms. If you're a circus performer, there's other exercises for improving that, but I'm going to leave that to the circus performers to talk about. The real ones, not the fake ones like me. Eric Parker. Hey, Mark, during club exercises, do you strive to keep your rib cage down and glutes turned on throughout the whole movements, like circles and casts? For circles and casts, your rib cage should be down, but you are going to get involuntary glute squeeze as the weight passes the center line, and then focus on the glute squeeze and rib down in the catch. You are going to relax the glute squeeze, and and everything else as you go into the movement itself. You have to relax in order to endure for that long. You have to cycle between relaxation and tension. So your glutes and your rib cage will fire when the weight passes center line across the bottom. They will involuntarily fire. It'll either be same side for one of the circles and opposite side for the other circle. So that's getting the cross ipsilateral and contralateral load glute swing with shoulder that everybody's trying to get in all these other systems of training. It will just happen involuntarily if you just do that. And as the weight gets heavy, then you will focus on the glute squeeze in the catch to stabilize your lower back. When you're getting up into the whatever's heavy for you. For some people need to start doing that at 20. I need to do that above, say, maybe 35. But when I used to do it, I used to have to do it at 20. Now I don't have to stabilize that hard anymore because my body's just used to that strain. But when you get up to like, I was doing a single arm 40 cycle, or I will be when I get back to my 40-pound club. I have to focus on the squeeze and the catch with single arm 40 for sure. When you get up into single arm 35, 40, 45, 50, you're definitely going to focus on the squeeze. Otherwise, it's going to rip your core right off the body. The goal is to train above what you need. So I'm really working on getting my 30-pound single arm swinging up to the 30-minute range. In order to do that, you have to train above that with volume cycles and density cycles, just like an Olympic lifter would. Oh, I just saw a HEMA question. Where did that go? Should HEMAist prioritize club or mace training? Club training. Evan Cross-Shaw. HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts, should prioritize club training over mace training. Because in HEMA, Historical European Martial Art, if you are doing any of the classics, if you're doing, Italian fencing from the 16th century, or German sword or whatever, then you're going to have your footwork drills, advancing, retreating with all of your guards and your intro work in between all those transition points. That will take the place of your mace work. You can do mace, but you should prioritize heavy club because you want those two things to be on two different sides of the spectrum. Mace is very, very, very much like most forms of sword swinging. And you can take mace. Oh man, we should do that. Somebody send me a bunch of mace resources, a bunch of HEMA resources, and we'll start doing like mace specific to HEMA. That could be fun. But we should also do club specific to HEMA. Club specific to HEMA starts with like the mill squat program. Get really good at controlling levers in a 90-degree arm angle, build up bigger and bigger and bigger weights over time. When you're in HEMA, you're going to do a lot of your step out into Warrior 1 or Warrior 2, depending on which two-handed or one-handed you're doing. But yeah, I would prioritize club and then single arm club standing up in neutral stance over mace swinging. Both will work. I think club will work better for what you're doing in the shorter period of time. But eventually you'll do mace because it'll just be fun. And a HEMA guy is going to end up doing mace swinging exercises based on like German longsword that are going to be sick. I have a buddy who does a bunch of longsword over in Scotland, and I love watching him do his footwork drills because it's everything mace guys want to be, but don't have the direction to do, don't have the directed thought to do. Yeah, HEMA plus mace and HEMA plus club are like perfect. I just got lost in that HEMA question. Here's a question from Angel Santana. I don't understand this one. I saw a travel update video and I was wondering about the W8 vests. Kensui makes a 1-inch plate adapter for their plate loadable vest. Could you simply travel a vest kit by using, oh, that's that vest that has the central point and the back point, and you put plates on it and screw them on? I mean, you could. I don't know how much that thing weighs or how hard it is to pack. My main concern with packing things is getting them all in one bag. So you're not paying extra bag costs. If that vest system takes up too much space inside of a bag, or if it's too heavy and it pushes your bag over weight limit, then it's not really worth bringing. I do think that that thing looks like a great piece of kit for doing pull-ups and just monster dips. I mean, that sounds dope. I've seen it. I just haven't considered it yet because I travel so much. I just haven't dragged it around to figure out if it works or not yet. Is it legal to carry calves? I don't know what that means, Plotbot. Curious if there's Mark Wildman Hydrocore program coming soon. There is. It's just in my giant list of programs to finish. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I don't know how good the quality was. We'll do a quick program update. Max, you gonna come over here? Max, put your face up here so everybody can see how pretty you are. Oh, you big dork. Programs that are currently coming out. We have 6 bodyweight programs that are coming out because it's getting to be summertime and people travel a lot in the summertime. So I would like to actually put out some bodyweight programs. The first one is just called Bodyweight 101. I wish I came up with better names for these things, but I haven't because I'm not that smart. Bodyweight 101 is just a bunch of, here, nobody can see your face, buddy. Bodyweight is a bunch of the moves that I think are skipped in other bodyweight programs. All the bodyweight programs that I have written right now are all for 0 equipment. No equipment, no pull-up bar, no rings, no nothing. It's just the floor. Brody. Hey, it's Jamie. It's Brody who does the Clan HEMA stuff over in Scotland. Thanks, Jamie. Jamie is one of the big Scottish guys, and Brody's part of his crew, and they are, what are they called, Jamie? They have a giant clan over there, Clan Ranald, and they have a name for their stunt crew. But yeah, back to the bodyweight stuff. The bodyweight stuff is all meant to be just floor, nothing else. Floor. And it's a bunch of the stuff that is not in other programs so that they will nest into other types of programs, like military programs. One of the first programs I ever did when I was young, because we had 0 access to information when I was a kid growing up, on a horse farm in the middle of nowhere with no internet, is some Navy guy gave me a Bud's warning order, and I did that thing for 2 years, and it was just massive volume cycles of push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. And then the advanced cycle was like dips, push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. The part that I didn't do, which I didn't know about because it wasn't in the order, was rucking. I ended up doing so many sit-ups and push-ups that the front of my body became so strong. You're doing 500-600 push-ups every day, sit-ups, and pull-ups every day. My abs became so strong, they literally pulled my spine out of alignment, and I couldn't walk for like 2 weeks. So there are programs like that, which are very specifically focused towards something like military preparation, but what do they lack? They lack rotational stability, 100%. That program was not meant to keep you alive, it was meant to weed people out. So I wrote all of our 6 upcoming bodyweight programs to complement something like that. It would be like, here, do Bodyweight 101 twice a week, and then do something like your Bud's warning order 3 days a week or whatever it is, and it will keep you alive. It's all the ways that you should move your spine that aren't in other programs, specifically, and we just lost our gimbal, specifically to getting up off the ground. The second program is called Krav Get Up 1. Krav Get Up is a type of get up that I learned in Krav Maga. It's a type of get up that you do in fight training, but they just do it better than everybody else. But many people that I saw like in Krav Maga training were not great at it because there was no specific cycle that focused on just getting them to do that thing well. So there's a whole program that I wrote, which is just making people repeat doing the basics of this movement so many times they can't possibly forget it under stress. When you teach fight training, you throw people on the ground, you knock them down on the ground, you drag them down on the ground. When people are under stress, they forget how to get up off the ground. They put the wrong hand down and try to pass the wrong leg. They get caught up on themselves, they fall over, they get kicked in the face. So the program that I wrote is just about forcing people to put the right hand and pass the knee so many times that they can't possibly forget it. There will also be, sorry guys about the shaking here, my gimbal just gave a death wish on me. There's a second version of the program, it's called Krav Get Up 2. It's coming out, and it is just a repeat of Krav 1 with slightly different ways of putting all the moves together, so that we once again are reinforcing, put the correct hand on the ground to get up when somebody's trying to kick you in the teeth. The goal of all of these training programs is to force people to do something so many times that neurologically in their brain they can no longer mess it up. We also have a Judo Get Up program, which is just a different version of a Krav Get Up. Different people call Judo Get Ups different things. One of our viewers, Frank, out of Michigan, talks to me about this stuff all the time because he's a judo guy where I was talking about judo. And he calls a different thing Judo Get Up. I call some other thing Judo Get Up. That's fine. We'll just make programs for absolutely all of them so that people get really good at getting up off the ground and these different movements that aren't in other bodyweight programs and aren't in other athletic preparation programs. I harp on getting up off of the ground all the time because when you lose the ability to get up off the ground quickly under stress, essentially you're getting old. It's like one of those prime definitions of getting old. You lose mobility, you lose the ability to get up. Everybody who was alive in the 80s knows the I've fallen and I can't get up commercials. There was a reason for that. It's because when you fall and you can't get up, you're officially old. Let's answer another question here. FC, hope these bodyweight programs have a lot of burpees in them. They do not. But I can put an add-on for burpee goals on top of them. We had talked about this yesterday, but that live was absolute crap, so it got thrown away. Somebody asked yesterday about doing daily burpees. Love the idea, especially when you start adding things like loads or plates or gear to it. Fantastic idea. I was following a HEMA guy. I don't know if any of the HEMA-ists on here know this guy. And he was doing a burpee challenge in his plate armor to make sure that he could move in his plate armor and that he had adapted neurologically to it. I thought that guy was a genius, and I loved everything he did. And it was just him doing burpees in full plate all the time. I was like, there's a guy who really knows how to do it. But here's another thing. If he took what he was doing in plate and then converted it to doing also Krav Get-Ups and Judo Get-Ups, you would expand your ability to get up off of the ground in your gear massively. So maybe we'll do that. I do need to talk about, at some point, commonly available plates that people can use for bodyweight training, because all the programs we have coming up will be for, bodyweight, pure, get faster, basics, and then add plates to it, and then add gear to it. Somebody was asking me about that, about military stuff. I would just tell people to do lots of different types of get-ups in all of your gear so we can repeat those programs over and over and over again with light plates like ceramic plates, and then move to like AR 500 plates because they're heavy, and then move to adding things like mags, and then move to adding things like helmets, and then put nods in it, and then figure out how to do it all with a rifle and all that other stuff. It would all be fun. So all these programs are going to be meant to be repeated over and over and over again. The other programs we have coming out are the big two-handed club program. It just requires me to finish it. I need an employee or more people to help me do this stuff. We have the Turkish Get Up Mastery program, which once again is about getting up off of the ground and making sure people have all the correct structure to do Turkish Get Ups. If you saw the beta version of the app, which never was completed because the app company never delivered on the features, people saw that program. That will be coming out. We're just going to write a PDF for it and release it, but I have to do explainers for it, and it's a lot of explainer videos. It's like 5 days of shooting just for explainer videos on top of everything else. What else do we have? Single arm club needs to come out because I've told people the general idea of single arm club, but there's a much, much larger version of that to make sure people don't get injured or don't progress so fast that they end up with elbow injuries or spine injuries or knee injuries. There's a bunch of little tips and tricks inside of that idea to get people through it and get people up to, single arm 30 for men and single arm 20, 25 for ladies, at least. Max, where'd you go? Oh, you're back there. Sorry, dog's back here. And I want to put out this super sweet. Yes, I watched South Park. Super sweet. Super sweet vaulting program. I wrote a vaulting program years ago living in London because they have a specific height of rail that separates like the street from the sidewalk, and it just kind of curtails everybody. And so I wrote a whole program teaching people how to jump over those for both athletic preparation. We were doing it for movies because it was fun. And then we were also using that exact same program to jump over bars and do like full contact fight training. Super clutch. So I need to figure that out and get that done at some point. It's just that wood prices have been so high. I'm trying not to release that one because people would need to build equipment for it. So you guys have to tell me if that's something people are willing to do. I'm trying to release the stuff that's the most economical to say it the shortest possible way. Clan Ranald Trust of Scotland. That's what we were talking about with Brody in the HEMA-ist videos. Structural integrity built using kettlebells. What's your take? Andy Douglas from Scotland. I think structural integrity is the easiest possible thing to build with kettlebells. With kettlebells, you're building structural integrity. Same thing with clubs. You're building structural integrity. You're making yourself harder to break. You're better at accelerating and decelerating rotation. You absorb force in ways that you would never do with a barbell. It's just not great overall for bodybuilding. It's good for making you an athlete, but not in our modern context of bodybuilding. Although you could do it. If you were to do a heavy kettlebell program, 2 days a week would be single arm, and then 2 days a week would be double kettlebell, focusing on monster lifts, and then 2 days a week would be like two-hand heavy club training. That would be a fantastic base for bodybuilding by itself. And then you would add 30 minutes of part-specific training after that, 30 minutes of incline bench and with both bar and dumbbell, and then 30 minutes of super wide grip rows and things like that if you really wanted to turn it into bodybuilding. But for the most part, structural integrity is what this stuff does best. It just makes you harder to hurt and harder to destroy. Thoughts on dips. There are no videos about it. What may be some reasons for shoulder pain during dips? I love dips. I don't do them a lot. I'm doing them right now, actually. I just did an hour of dips. Every 3 minutes on 3 minutes, I did 8. So 20 sets of 8 combined with GHD sit-ups, 20 sets of 8. And it's just supposed to be easy because yesterday I was doing super hardcore double kettlebell long cycle. And I was like, well, I want to keep my heart rate lower today. I love dips. I think dips are better than push-ups. Push-ups are easier to do, so more people do push-ups. But I think dips are way better overall for your athletic development. But for the most part, finding a place to really do dips is hard. I popped over to CrossFit Combate when I'm in LA like I am now. And I do dips there because they have the dip rack that bolts on to like a monster squat rack. So you can set it at the correct height. So you can do dips with your legs perfectly straight. The idea of that is that once I get up to 20 sets of 10, then I'm going to drop down to sets of 5 and I'm going to hang a kettlebell off my toe, a Russian kettlebell dip. There are other Russian dips where you shift forward and back. But that hanging the kettlebell off of your toe forces your abs to engage, makes your body perfectly straight. And just, it's overall just an incredible exercise. I put it above the value of something like, say, bench. So if you were to do dips and Turkish get-ups, you're on your way to being an absolute monster. The problem is you need dip equipment to do it. Most people don't have a place to do dips, especially if they live in an apartment. Even if you go to a normal gym, there's usually one dip stand and it's usually not high enough and you're gonna have to work in with other people. So you're not gonna be able to do the amount of volume that you really need to do to really benefit from dips. Think of dips as like the same type of number cycling that you would do with push-ups. It's a high volume activity, but it's easier to add load to dips than it is to push-ups. and to get better results overall with less injury. Adding load to push-ups is a dicey proposition for a lot of reasons, especially spine for most people. But you can load dips very easily and very well, but you need a better dip rack to do it. I myself have ordered myself a dip rack because I haven't really been doing dips for the past 3-4 years. Before COVID hit, I was gone on movies and there was no ability to do dips, so we just didn't do them. And then during COVID, nowhere to do dips. I built a dip stand in a field, but then I had to move after like a month. And so I did a month of dips at one point in like 2020. Just 2x4s erected, posts in the ground, out in the field. It was snowing. It was not great. But I'm going to order myself a dip stand and have it shipped to where I'm staying on the other side of the country. Put it outside, spend an hour outside getting sun, doing dips. I love dips. I think dips are a great idea, and you should definitely do them. What do you think of training kettlebells in rings with a torn shoulder labrum? Asaf Lavi. I think you should definitely pull the rings out for now. And you're not going to be doing any type of iron cross training with a torn labrum. You could probably do some push-ups and stuff, but for the most part, if you have a torn labrum, you should get that fixed, sewn together in some way. You need to do your rehab, and your rehab is going to look a lot like single arm club training. You have a torn labrum, you need to go down to the 10-pound club and start all the way over with volume cycles and density cycles. Basically, single arm club, the inside circle, outside circle, and shield cast are shoulder therapy exercises. But that all depends on how bad your torn shoulder labrum is. Like, are you bone on bone? Like, God only knows. Like, for the most part, you're going to need to drop your volume quite a bit and restabilize that shoulder entirely so that you don't end up thrashing your shoulder so bad it can't be fixed. What are some reasons for shoulder pain during dips? Lack of range of movement, scar tissue, abuse of the shoulder. Most people are not prepared to do dips. Their shoulders aren't mobile enough. They're too tight. You just need to start super slow with a ridiculously low number of reps and focus on your range of movement and focus on pausing at each side to let your body adapt to that position. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. There's a reason I tell people to do two-hand clubbing all the time, and that's because it is therapy. It will trick your shoulders into being better to do things like dips later on. Mike Stevenson, next stop, Camp Wildman. Yeah, let's do a Camp Wildman. That would be fun. I just need a giant chunk of land where somebody's not going to yell at us for swinging machetes, baseball bats, and sticks and lifting kettlebells and being loud. And, it needs like either a giant grill or a giant fire pit so we can just have steak and vegetables, which will be super sweet. Have I ever written a book on programming? Jurgen Rose. Great name, Jurgen. I've never written a book. As you can tell, there's like 80,000 ways to write a book on this topic. I would love to write a book on this topic. I just simply do not have the time. I haven't had time. I haven't read a book, like a novel, in like 8 years. And I used to read 3 novels a week. And that's how I think I started in 2014 in movies. And I haven't read a book since then because I just have not stopped moving. I got back from a movie, COVID hit. Like, I was like, oh, we have 2 or 3 weeks to hang out and we'll like eat all the food and get fat and be ready for the next movie project. And then that never happened. And I started making videos every day as a way to, deal with being locked up inside of my studio in Los Angeles and not being able to do anything fun. But I had to learn how to make videos, which was not easy. I need to be way better at it. I'm taking an editing class to actually figure out, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like people who actually have a degree in editing know. Like, I know a little bit of stuff, but I need to make everything better so that we can transfer information faster. I would love to write a book at some point. Right now, I'm using the PDFs for all the programs, the downloads, to lay out the thoughts of different things that I would like to put in a book. and about all those different types of athletic programming and what they are. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It's just above the amount of hours I have in a day to stay alive. Grant Gardner, Lord of Discord. I've noticed that my foot turnout has gotten less and less and improved my shin box, so I might consider the 5-minute hip mobility before working out to help loosen up. Yes. Yeah, our 5-minute hip mobility for sure. Alex B. He's been doing Pavel's Simple and Sinister program, which is 100 swings and 10 TGUs every day. Any issues with only doing this program forever? Yeah, totally. He's using a 32, a 40, and a 44K. So he's doing it great. The problem is doing something like that forever. Anything you do forever will eventually kill you. Running will eventually kill you. Cycling will eventually kill you. There is a reason for cross training, and it's because if you load the same angles and joint forces on your body, eventually you'll break something down in those lines. But can you use it twice a week forever? Absolutely. Like Pavel is one of those simple geniuses when it came to program design, and his thoughts changed the world. It is a simple idea. Hip snap, get up off the ground. Love it. So simple. But you're gonna need to rotate about your vertical axis at some point. So think about this. You're getting up off the ground. Essentially think of both of those things as related to standing when we think about our hierarchy of training. Standing, walking, running, balancing, quadruped movement. It's really focusing on standing. The reason that Pavel is so successful and is such a world famous coach is because he pointed out to people that everybody sucked at standing up. And he wrote a program that just made them get better at that. And then everybody got better at everything focusing on, which was just standing up. To add something to Strong and Fit Mill Squat program, or the yet super big version of the club program, 7 levels of movement, 7 levels, 8 exercises, 56 total movements. That program is once again also meant to be done forever, but you could do Simple and Sinister twice a week. You could do two-handed club twice a week. You could do single arm club twice a week. Your numbers need to change a little bit every day in the other programs because you have to vary the load on your body. You cannot do the same thing every day forever. It will eventually kill you no matter how good of an idea it is. So yes, you need to rotate about your vertical axis and do other stuff. Everybody asked my opinion on knees over toes guy. I don't know. I listened to part of his podcast on Rogan. Sounds like a great thing. I love the thing about dragging sleds. Other than that, I haven't read any of his books or looked at anything other than that. I don't have time. But I probably should, seeing as how I have horrific knee injuries. I have my version of rebuilding knees, which I did myself for myself. Single arm clubbing, two-handed clubbing. You guys it's all gonna end up coming out eventually. I don't really have any thoughts on him. If somebody wants to tell me exactly what book to read or what video to watch, I'll watch it and give my opinion on it. But right now, I don't have enough information on the topic. Mal, M-A-L, HEMA times kendo with kettlebell. I'll be working with more volume and double kettlebell and the swords for W up and C down. 3 to 4 days a week. Okay, so he's learning. So that's just him telling me about what program he's doing. Very cool. HEMA plus kendo with kettlebell. Dope. If you combine HEMA, German longsword, with kendo, Japanese two-handed sword, you're going to be good at sword. You should probably throw in some single arm stuff at some point, just for fun. The HEMA guys and stuff don't really like doing that stuff. It looks more like Philippine martial arts, but it is fun for people's brain. And if you're training HEMA, none of your HEMA instructors will let you do it, but change your high hand. Instead of always having your right hand near the hilt, put your left hand near the hilt, flip your guards on everything, and do an equal number of training days on the other side, because you will analyze what it is you're doing on your good side so that you can articulate it, teach it, and break it down better to figure out why you're not doing something right. It's a trick I learned in aerial because I suck at aerial, even though I was an aerialist for years. I would have professional circus performers tell me I sucked, and I would say, great, show me your best trick on your left side, and none of them could do it because they could only do something on their good side. I was equally bad on both sides, if that makes anything feel better. But it caused me to sustain much less injury and be a much better coach overall. Can wrist weights be used with clubs or mace bell? Sure. Get yourself some of the brass Hungar wrist rings. They're 1 pound each, and start doing all of your stuff with those on. They shake around and they slam into your bones and they make your bones tougher. Old kung fu trick. Mine are in storage, otherwise I would drag them out. I love those stupid things. They're super painful, but they're fun. TSO Liat. So Liat. Hey Mark, I really need to target my abs and glutes, but heavy swings end up messing up my back. I feel like I'm too strong to use my abs and glutes with lighter bells. What should I do? Single arm. You're doing swings, you're overextending. If you're messing up your back, then you're leaning back and contracting your back and not driving your rib cage down. You should throw in something like a GHD sit-up if you have access to a GHD, glute ham developer, and you should go all the way down till your hands touch the ground, come all the way up and touch your toes. Or you need to be doing something like V-ups. It seems like you might have, that sounds like a spinal misalignment at the top position, not ribs down, with your hip bowl flexed slightly forward. That's what it sounds like just from what you've said. Single arm stuff is your friend. Single arm stuff rotating around the vertical axis is your friend. Single arm clubbing, two-handed. Will you ever cover swimming water activities? I can. I'm terrible at swimming. I grew up on a horse farm in the middle of nowhere, right? There was no water. We didn't swim. There was like a lake that people went and swam in, but you had to have money to do that, and we were like uber poor. So I can talk about swimming, and I think I might talk about swimming just because I talk about swimming from the perspective of somebody who can't swim at all. When I was on that last movie in 2019 in Romania, we had access to a giant pool, and there were a bunch of, professional swim coaches from the Eastern Bloc there. All of their advice was terrible, and I mean terrible. They were like, warm up with 1,000. I was like, I can swim 25 meters before I drowned. So you have to be careful with swim coaches, especially if they grew up swimming. They're like aerial coaches. They assume that you're dumb because you can't do what they learned to do when they were 5. You're not dumb. They're a bad coach. Don't listen to those bastards. I really get upset with these people because their coaching advice that they give people is truly terrible. For swimming, shortest possible version, set a timer. It's an EMOM. Swim across the pool, 25 meters or whatever, wait for the end of the minute, swim back, build up a volume cycle. Learn to not drown first, and then move to 50s, and then you start doing heavy light days and long days with like 25 meters, 50 meters, and 75 meters with breaks in between so that you don't drown. It's not like kettlebelling on land. You will actually drown. If you're out there and you mess up or you swallow water or whatever, I get very upset with swim coaches because I've never had a swim coach who wasn't a moron. That's just me, but I grew up as, somebody landlocked. People who grew up on swim team are the worst possible swim coaches. So yeah, we can talk about swimming at some point if anybody wants. It's a pretty easy math program to do. You just start, you build up to an hour, and then you repeat until you don't die. You get better in the water. It's all this stuff that people who learn to swim on swim team learned when they were like 5. Any more videos, information on practically incorporating Herbertism, specifically jumping, quad movement, climbing, and throwing into a simple kettlebell club Tetris would be greatly appreciated. I'm working on it. Jumping, specifically jumping. I hate like burpee long jumps. I think they're ridiculous. They're very hard to control. What I am more interested in is in Herbertism, which would be vaulting, which would be jumping with the assistance of the hands. Absolutely my favorite topic when it comes to something about Herbertism. But we will be talking more about quadruped movement and getting up off the ground. I was thinking of calling my Bodyweight programs strategic animal, because there's like animal flow out there, which is about animals flowing. But humans are the only strategic thinkers as we think of it. Probably dolphins and whales are strategic thinkers, and octopuses and other stuff as well. But we have a different type of strategy where we can break things down into math and numbers and record data. So I was thinking about calling our body weight program Strategic Animal and starting with body weight with limited equipment, and then built it up to start covering more types of flow type movements on the ground with animal flow type stuff. But I just don't want to cross lines with animal flow because they're very good instructors, so I let them instruct their thing very well. I try to fill in the gaps that other people aren't instructing. Steve, dumb question. Okay. How do you deal or coach through motivation problems? It's hard. For the most part, I've dealt with a lot of people with trauma. And the first thing I do is teach them fight training, and I teach them never to apologize, and I teach them to get up, but without screaming at them. There's a very different thing. Like in Krav Maga, they scream at you all the time, and many types of fight training and like military guys are very hardcore. There's a lot of screaming. But if people already have emotional problems or a lack of will to, not a lack of will, that's not saying that, a lack of motivation to do training, you need to let people work through that by expecting them to be better. Allow them to be better without degradation, or without making them feel bad, or without yelling at them. Training is hard for everybody. I once had a client on a movie ask me, he's like, how do you train every day? And I'm like, it sucks all the time. He's like, oh my God, it sucks? Yes, it sucks to get up at 4:30 in the morning and travel and then work out for 2 hours. It's all done before 7. That's hard to do over time. It never gets easier. You just get better at mentally deciding to do it and not letting stuff get in your way. I know it's a hard, stupid answer, but it's very much like Stoicism, the philosophy. I like Stoicism a lot. I wish I was better at it. I'm not. I'm terrible. But just expecting yourself to do things. There's a reason I put things in blocks in training. Do kettlebells twice a week, do swings twice a week, do clean and press twice a week. Because, and the way that I set up the math on these things is that they are known. They're known. There are no unknowns in the training that I am doing right now. Because if there are unknowns, like workout of the day and CrossFit, people will not do it. If you have something that you can get good at and see progress at every day, you can trick people into wanting to do the workout. I also have very short options in training. Like in the swing program, there's a 10-minute idea, there's a 15, a 20, and a 30-minute idea. If you don't have any other time, do the 10-minute one. People have 10 minutes. And you need to start with that small amount of training and stack it up over time. And then be consistent with small periods of time, even though you're tired, even though you don't feel good, even though you're overworked and underpaid. There need to be options to get people to do things without trying to make them feel bad. So much of the fitness industry is just people making other people feel bad. And the first thing is first, gear. You'll notice I talk a lot about the economics of gear because I was poor when I grew up. I mean, when I say I was poor, I was like below the poverty line poor for the majority of my childhood. And then you'd see all these programs and you'd be like, I don't have access to any of that shit. Like, oh, here, do barbell back squat. And you're like, I'm on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere. This program is designed for somebody with an Olympic lifting facility. A lot of the stuff that's on Instagram is trying to convince people to buy more shit. One of the things I try to do is try to like emphasize this is a good economic idea and you're going to get a lot out of it. Yeah, I'm rambling about that stuff. I ramble about that stuff all the time because it's very near and dear to my heart to try to keep these things doable for mental, emotional reasons for people. People who are working 14 hours a day are tired, right? I used to work 14 hours a day, every day, 6, 7 days a week. You're tired. Getting to a point where you can find motivation is finding a program that allows you to have motivation. It's doable, you know what's coming, all kinds of things. In fight training as well, there are unknowns, but like in fight training, the goal shouldn't be to make everybody throw up, which it often is in fight training. You go to a gym and they try to just make everybody in the room throw up, which I consider to be a terrible thing. If people are throwing up, they're not learning to not get hit in the face. They're just different philosophies. We can talk about this stuff all day too. Ask me more about it later. I think that was Steve who asked me about that. We could talk about that stuff forever. Because there's a lot of mental stuff that's done in training, which I just don't agree with, and I try to do it very, very differently. Mark, any thoughts on building aerobic engine programming? Yes, I have a million thoughts on that. The one that I've been doing for myself in the last year, is marathon kettlebelling. Building up to that 30-minute mark with a super lightweight. Hardstyle kettlebelling, while I love hardstyle kettlebelling, it's an absolutely fantastic time-controlled training system. Doesn't give people aerobic adaptations the same way that something like marathoning does. You can develop aerobic capacity in a bunch of ways. You can do it with mace if you're really good at mace. You can do it with club, but you have to be super good already because the heart rate demand on those tends to be lower. Kettlebells tends to be an easy way to get aerobic demand with light weights that are inexpensive, cheap, and don't require space. The other things, of course, running programs. The problem is most people don't have the time or the effort to run outside of other programs. Other things for aerobic capacity, rowing. Concept 2 rowers, one of the greatest fitness machines ever created by man. Or the Concept 2 ski erg, its insane psychotic cousin. Excellent. We can talk about aerobic development. I need a giant list of these questions. Somebody needs to send me a list of these questions so I can have a list of these things and I can use them to make videos for like a year. I'm sure clubs were invented to beat swim coaches. I would hope so. Swim coaches do drive me insane. I've never met one I liked. What's the best way to train with heavy kettlebells to keep central nervous system healthy? That's an interesting question, Andy Douglas. Keeping the system healthy. I mean, how are you talking about? Are you talking about frying your nervous system from too many reps? Is that what that question is? I'm not going to answer that question because I don't really understand what that question is. That question can mean a lot of things. Frying the central nervous system can mean a ton of things. What are the best metabolic drills to complement the 5-day program? Which 5-day program, Daniel Heb at 4:56 p.m.? I can think of a million. I have a whole idea that we're trying to put out here in the next month, just called Workout of the Week, which is an off-program metabolic conditioning workout for the week. So what I try to focus on a lot is getting people really good at the basics: a swing program, a clean and press program, a slim ball program, bodyweight programs. What we would like to do is put out a workout of the week, which uses all the equipment and the movement patterns that we have that is actually designed as a metabolic kicker. We've talked kind of become just metabolic kickers, right? It used to be very heavily, much more focused on Olympic lifting, and you still get your Olympic lifting, but it gets really hard to shove everything into the CrossFit class in an hour. So you have your 8-minute warm-up, then you have your explanation, then you have your strength piece for 15 to 20 minutes, then you have your kicker, which is the Metcon. I think that people could do with less overall Metcon and build the Metcon into their program design, which is what I do, and then have one kicker a week, like a Friday workout. They used to be called Frack Your Friday in CrossFit. I don't know what they call them now. They might have gotten rid of that terminology, might be too offensive now. Yeah, so yes, we can talk about metabolic training forever because there are literally a million ways to do it. And we have to constrain that idea to be able to talk about it intelligently or in a good way, in a useful way, not intelligently, in a useful way. We have to be able to constrain that idea down and say what a kicker in this amount of time, metabolic for anaerobic, metabolic for anaerobic. We just need to isolate that idea down because otherwise there's too many variables. Have you ever dealt with golfer's elbow personally since training ballistically? No. Cal Elijah. No, I have not. Because I spent an insane amount of time at the lightweight. I tell everybody this story. I'll tell you guys. When I first got into heavy clubbing, I was already an RKC instructor. Before that, I was already a trainer. Before that, I was already a Kung Fu dude. So when I was a Kung Fu dude, I became a trainer. I was like, this was going to be easy. It wasn't that bad, right? Training in a gym, just not all that complicated compared to the athletic requirements of traditional Shaolin Kung Fu. And then I went into kettlebelling, and it kicked the shit out of me because nobody's used to that level of shearing force and traction. And I did about 2 years of hard style, and I did like RKC1, trained up for the, the Secret Service snatch test and everything. And then I was trying to find out about Shaolin Golden Melon hammers, which are a specific type of weight swinging from China, from the Shaolin Temple. And I was trying to find out about that. So I went to China and asked people to teach me. Nobody will teach white people over there. I learned absolutely nothing. I spent a lot of money, but I learned nothing. And I came back and I stumbled across RMAX and clubs online, and was reading some articles from a trainer. What was that big dude trainer back in the day? Mike Mahler. And he was like, oh yeah, use 2025 if you're a kettlebell guy. And I took his advice, terrible idea. Bought a 25. I picked it up. I'd already been doing sledgehammer training for years at that point, like 7 years. I'd been doing dedicated types of sledgehammer training. I was like, 25 pounds, won't be that bad. I picked it up, I went out, I tried to do a mill like you do with a sledgehammer. I pulled really hard on that pull, and I hit myself directly in the side of the head, losing my gimbal again, directly in the side of the head with a 25-pound club, and knocked myself out. I woke up, looked around sheepishly, like an idiot that I was, picked it up, took it inside, and put it in the corner, and I bought a 15, and I used nothing but a 15 for 2 years. So I went through a whole phase of training trying to figure out, because nobody told me the stuff that I'm telling you guys. Nobody told me what to start with. Nobody told me the math to do it. Nobody told me how to progress from one exercise to the next or when it's appropriate. So I spent an absurd amount of time with the 15-pound club trying things. And writing down, taking a bunch of notes and trying to figure out what worked and what didn't kill me. So I escaped elbow issues by not knowing what I was doing long enough that my elbow adapted to the 15-pound club. And I couldn't afford a 20. I didn't get a 20 for like 3 years. And then I got a 20, and then I started doing 20, and I didn't have money, so I stayed with that for a long period of time. So I managed to avoid golfer's elbow by spending the appropriate amount of time with the weights. I have now isolated that down to what I consider to be a fairly solid science, and I just have to release it. It's long. It's like a 3-year program. I've cut out all the parts that don't work, and I've tested it on tons of people, specifically like actors and people like that, who we have to get strong we have to get strong fast with 0 injury. So I think I've pushed the line as hard as I can on that. But yeah, I've never dealt with golfer's elbow from clubbing. I've dealt with it from aerial a ton. It's one of the reasons I got into clubbing is because my aerial instructor kept hurting me so bad that I couldn't use my arms. So I was looking for a way to solve the problems of working with other people's coaching that was going to kill me. All right, guys, we've been doing this for 64 minutes. We're going to have to wrap this up for today. What do you guys think if we just make this a once a week thing? I can do this once a week. I can talk about this stuff forever. Your questions are really good, and it helps me isolate and understand my own ideas better by people asking different questions in different ways. So let's all talk on the Discord or something. You Discord team. Lord of Discord, somebody find me a time that people like. Is Thursday at 4 good? Does this work for people? We can keep talking about this stuff forever. This is like all I like to talk about. I'm a pretty big nerd. It's this, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, motorcycles, construction of swords throughout history. Well, we can talk about this. This is something we're really good at. Let's talk about this. Maybe we'll do this again next Thursday. People come with questions. I love it when people come with questions, and there's so many questions that I can answer. All you guys are doing is making me better at my job, which is figuring out how to have a solution for absolutely everything in less than 3 seconds. That was one of the things I prided myself on as a trainer. When you're working in movies, you have a plan. That plan goes to shit every day within the first 3 seconds, and you have to write a new program in your head in less than 3 seconds. The amount of time it takes you to turn to the producer is the amount of time it takes you to have an entire plan detailed for the next 6 months. So this is good. This keeps me in shape mentally. Let's do it again. Thank you all for coming, and let's try it again next week, and we're going to fix our gimbal situation next time.